I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone. As a way of introduction, my name is Colleen Pimentel. I'm a key account executive for Google, and I have been in high tech for the past 30 years. And in those 30 years, I've had over 10 reinventions in my career. At some of the big names like Google, Oracle, and many startups. But I am actually not here today as the tech persona or the sales executive. I am here as a speaker and a coach. And the purpose is to help you to take back control. Take back control of a phenomenon that is happening right now that you might not be aware of, and it is burnout. Now I know that the people in the audience here are diverse. We come from different industries and we come from different lines of business. But this topic is very applicable to everyone here. I don't know about you, but raise of hands, how many people here have just felt the start of 2026 has been so chaotic? Wow, that's like a full room. So I think there's a lot of reasons for this. There's a lot of noise that is out there. There are a lot of expectations, and I think AI has been a piece of the expectations that that we're encountering right now. So with AI, we were actually promised that we would have 10x the productivity at 10x the time. And if I look at the world today, we've probably actually achieved that, to be honest. But what no one told us, they never warned us about the guardrails that we needed to put up on our own mental health. Because the speed of AI just gets a lot of things in motion. And hence, the topic that I want to talk to you today in my thesis, which is speed without direction is not momentum. It is exhaustion. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands again if you've ever done this. Have you ever been trying to write a really important email and you're clicking away, you can't get the right tone, you can't get the right words, delete, 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 anyone? Of course, full room again. Great examples I must be giving you. Well, it's happened to me. And I have deleted, tried again, sat there, watched a blinking cursor, and ultimately hit my head against the laptop screen, just trying. But ultimately, after minutes, hours, okay, honestly, I am one of those people who sat there for hours waiting for the answer to appear. You need to take a break. Maybe you go and have coffee, you have lunch, you go for a walk, have some water. And something ironic happens in that break, in that time. It's like magic, the answer appears. But it's not magic, because given enough space and time, the answer will reveal itself to you. And that is what I consider the pause, the strategic pause. But look at our society today. Everyone wants everything instantly. Why not? You can order from Amazon and get it next day. Uber Eats in a couple of hours. If you have questions or you want to validate yourself, go onto the internet and social media and you can do that instantaneously. And we bring that into our lives overall, and then into the lives of our businesses and the lives of the employees who are in the businesses. But again, speed without direction is not momentum. It's exhaustion. So I want to make this abundantly clear to you. So do me a favor, everyone, close your eyes for just 1 minute. And I want you to envision that you are in Japan, and you are on a bullet train. And you're on a train that's going 200 miles an hour. And all of a sudden you realize that you're actually going in the wrong direction. Here's the question. Would you stay on that train because it's going fast? Open your eyes. Of course not. You would get off of that train and you would go on a train, even if it was a slower train, going in the right direction. Because again, speed without direction is not momentum, it's exhaustion. So I want to pivot for a second, and I want to talk to you about burnout. Does anyone here know what burnout is? Yeah, please.
Well, it's exhaustion and unable to focus and not feeling productive, and there's nothing you can do to lift yourself up by the bootstraps. You just have to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. That is what happens when you get burnout. Most people think that you get burnout because you have too much on your plate. Your workload is too high. That is not actually accurate. Burnout occurs when you are cognitively heavy but control light. When you are continuously in motion but not moving, and you don't feel like you're the driver. That's what burnout is. 82% of employees right now are on the cusp of burnout. This was a study by Boston Consulting Group in 2026. When they did the analysis, they looked at the last few years, and this year from 2025 to 2026, it accelerated. And it accelerated because of AI, because there's so much momentum that's out there. And people are just speeding ahead without knowing where they're going. Now, this 82% is deeply personal to me, and this topic is deeply personal to me, because I was part of that 82%. Last year, I had a massive deal that I was trying to close. And it took every ounce of energy that I had. I worked day and night. My body was telling me to stop. I didn't have time for my kid, I didn't have time for my husband, I didn't have time for physical activity. And you know what? I just kept going, because that's what I learned. You just hustle and you go through and things will be fine. And at the end of the day, when it's done, you can rest then. So, long story short, we won that deal. And I did encounter some burnout. But I didn't realize the real cost of what burnout was. I thought, I could just sleep this off, take some low-key days, and everything was going to be fine. But burnout is kind of like an iceberg. Iceberg, you have the top, but you never see the bottom and how it impacts you. Long story short, it wasn't until a week ago, last week, that I actually was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And it was triggered based upon the work that I did back when I was trying to close that deal. That iceberg, you never actually see the impact of what burnout is. It's not just Boston Consulting Group. Deloitte has a study in 2025 about cognitive behavior. Oxford has a study about how AI is transforming people and how this phenomenon is happening. The data is clear. This is happening. Burnout is something that we are going to need to address. It's a dire situation. But you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to change the trajectory for yourself and for, if you do have people that you manage, the people that you manage. And I've created a framework that I'm going to share with you to show you how to take back control and to minimize or eliminate burnout in your life. So I said control. There's so many things I don't control. I don't control the economy, I don't control company policy, I don't control how someone reacts to me or how a company reacts to me. But what I do control is I control my mindset, my actions, and how I think. And that is enough. That is enough to take back control. So I'm going to take you through this simple process that I have, which is 4 steps. The first step is lowering the noise. The second step is building your own personal scorecard. The third step is embracing no to get to your yes. And the final step is to adding something back to your calendar that's going to give you energy. So let's go through each one of them. Lowering the noise. Do you know what I encounter every day? Chat messages, text messages, phone calls, Slack. I have 3 different email addresses. I have pings from everywhere. How is it that we can actually, focus when we have all of these things happening at one time? This is what they say. If you're focused on everything, you're focused on nothing, and it is true. You destroy your productivity by all those pings. So I have a simple solution for you. Ask yourself this question. This is what I asked. Why do I need to be available 24/7? I don't. Why do I have to instantly give someone a response? I don't, and in fact, when I take the time to digest and respond the way that I want to, I get a better result. So here's what I'm going to suggest to you. We can't stop all these pings. That's just the way that the world works, right? All these pings are coming at you. But what you can do is you don't have to respond to them right away. So block time on your calendar, maybe a half hour in the morning, a half hour in the evening, maybe a half hour midday. You decide the interval, you decide the amount. But what that does is it reduces the noise that's pinging at you at one time. Second item, I want you to take your meetings and start them 5 minutes later. 9:05, 9:35, 10:35. Why? Because I want you to take that first 5 minutes and I want you not to look at your pings, not to look at social media, but to become intentional of what you want out of that next meeting. Lo and behold, when I did that, it was a game changer. I used to be reactive. Now I actually achieve the intentions that I have in that meeting. And the third thing that I'm going to suggest to you is we end up, or at least myself, my friends, my husband, we go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. What time do we have to get work done? We don't. So block time out on your calendar, and that is your dedicated time to get your work done. This is so important because remember, the definition of burnout is cognitively moving forward over and over, but not getting anything done. So take back your control. I have a ton of other tips that I could provide you, but we don't have time here for those. These are the 3 most impactful ones. And you might say, this is like pretty simplistic and foundational. Yes, that's the point. These 3 things make a huge difference. That was the first step. Second step, I want you to create your own personal scorecard. If I was to ask you, how do you evaluate yourself? A lot of times corporate people will tell me, well, I have a corporate KPIs and that's what I'm evaluated on. I'm glad you're shaking your head. I'm very, very glad. But most people will say that to me. And here's the thing. If you have a corporate scorecard, a corporate KPIs, do you control everything in there? Probably not. But more importantly, you live daily. So why are you evaluating yourself on a quarterly basis? Well, for daily. That doesn't make any sense. And in fact, if you do this, you're going to feel unfulfilled and unsuccessful most days. So here's what I did. I started by telling you I was in sales. So for me, I actually created my own daily scorecard. Here it is. It's so simple. Did I get a new contact today? Pretty simple. I could control it. I could measure it. 2, did I move a deal forward? It could simply mean that I set up a meeting. 3, did I cultivate a relationship? Again, all of these things are things that I can control and I can measure, which is very important because we want to take control back. Now, my measurements are not your measurements. We're all in different businesses here. but you need to create your personal scorecard so that you feel like you have achieved things during the day. I'm going to share with you, when I started to do this, they became habits. And those habits ended up getting me to my quarterly goals. Step number 3, I want you to embrace no to get to your yes. And this is what I mean by that. I want you to do an audit of your calendar. Did you know that no is one of the shortest words in the dictionary, but the hardest to say? When I looked at my calendar, I had things that had been on there for years. I had almost had this meeting with Jim, so I'm going to continue to have this meeting with Jim. I don't want to let him down. No, I don't need to be doing things that don't get me to my goals. So do an audit and take things off that don't make sense. Looking at your calendar, we're going to get to step 4. And step 4 is I want you to actually do something that's a little counterintuitive. And I actually want you to add things back to your calendar. But the trick here is I want you to add things back that give you energy. So what are those things? It's going to be personal. You're going to decide what those are. But it could be you're doing something that is bigger than yourself. Maybe you're doing give back events. Maybe you're mentoring someone. Maybe you're just learning a new skill for yourself. Maybe you're taking the time to actually exercise. Whatever it is, figure out what gives you energy back. And I'm going to tell you something about Google, my employer. They have something which is called the 20% rule. And it's actually genius. So what they say is 80% of your time, spend it on your core competency. And the rest, 20% of your time, spend it on these other activities. And here's what they found, and this is why it's genius. If someone is focused on their core competency for 100% of the time, they're not. They're scrolling. They're on social media. You're not getting 100% productivity. And they're dampening the mood for everyone else. If you give them 20% to spend on something that gives them their energy, when they actually focus on their 80%, their focus comes back and you get more productivity from them. There's a science behind this. So 4 steps: lowering the noise, creating your own personal scorecard, embracing no to get to your yes, and finally, adding something to your calendar that refills your cup. Now some of you are going to clap for me in just a second, and you're going to tell me, great tips, that's a session, we haven't heard it, awesome, and then you're going to proceed to lunch. And you're going to forget every single thing that I just said. And I'm going to think in my mind, you know what, it was just the noise that distracted them. But for those of you in the room today, for those of you that want peace in your life, fulfillment, that don't want to have to deal with mental health, the data here is clear. Where we are going in the future, it is grim. But you have a choice. You have the keys that I just gave you right now of how to start taking control back in your life. For you and for the people if you do manage people. But here's the thing, it starts with a choice. Because change starts with choice. And nothing changes until you do. Maybe I preempted that. I'm not sure if anyone has questions. I hope